Hey everybody, this is Nick Pierce from Unearth with Studio Update number 4, and today I'm going to be answering some long-awaited questions about pedal setup. People have seen me using heel toe and then regular just heel up playing, doing double strokes and like bass drum accents and all sorts of different stuff. And I want to cue you guys in as to how my pedals are set up that is most comfortable for me. Take note that these settings are what works for me. I'm a bigger guy. I've got almost maxed out spring tension and further beater distance. That's just because that's what works for my body and what works for my legs when it comes to rebound and just my style of playing. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to deal with adjusting your pedals, because I know it can be frustrating. But I want to give you guys a little bit of head start as to how it works with these Speed Cobras. The Tama Speed Cobra's got the Cobra coil underneath here. I don't really utilize it, but it is a good gauge as to where your footboard height is at. I've got about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of space between the Cobra coil when it's pushed all the way forward. When this Cobra coil here is pushed all the way forward to the pedal, and so in that position, I've got about right in here. There's about a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch of space there, and then same thing on the other side. So that's a good gauge as to where your footboard height is at. When it comes to these pedals, that is about maxed out. The reason I say maxed out is because on the drive shaft linkage from the slave to the master side, right above the spring assembly here, the attachment points for these tension rods, if you get them to it's maxed out when this tension rod here is almost touching the spring mechanism. So I've got it just backed off like maybe like a 1/16 of an inch so it doesn't create a riding condition on there. But that's pretty much maxed out when it comes to footboard height on here. And the reason I have that like that is because doing heel toe, it really subdivides your notes when you drop your heel and then into a toe motion, having the footboard up like that. Or at least that's what I've found. You may find it different in your playing and with what sort of pedals you have, but for the Speed Cobras, I found it works really effectively for me, especially when it comes to speed and power combined. So spring tension is about a 1/4 inch to maxed out. So I've got about a 1/4 inch of threads above where it's mounting here, where the adjustment is. And the Tama Speed Cobras come with another like locking piece on here, plastic piece that screws on there. So when you take that off, that gives you that 1/4 inch. So I would say it's completely maxed out, but it really isn't when you take that off. So that's what I do to set up my spring tension, so I have a little bit more tension on there to work for my playing. And then when it comes to beater distance, from the head to the top edge of the beater over here. So from the batter head, I think it's about 7.5 inches. So that's a fairly good beater distance. It gets me enough power, and that also helps with the heel toe as well. Having the really lifted up footboard and then having the beaters drop back, it gives me a good amount of power and a good amount of speed and precision as well. So that's why I have those set up like that. And then I also pull the beaters fairly high up, like just off center of the kick drum head. I would say about 2 inches higher off center on a 22-inch kick drum. And then the beater that I'm using is a stock beater, but I sanded down the plastic and then cut out some pieces of desert ironwood and sanded the edges down and everything so it's nice and smooth. And then I used some like really high grade adhesive to glue those on there and make sure they were flush and everything. So they're just the stock beaters are really well balanced. I just wanted more power and articulation, so the wood beater really helps with that. And Tama makes all sorts of other wood beaters as well. I just found this worked best for me. But I digress. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of how the pedal setup is for me. And then when it comes to like the drive shaft linkage, I've got that almost all the way spread apart, minus maybe about a half inch on either side. And other than that, everything's pretty even. I mean, you can see that I don't offset my beaters. I don't offset my spring tension. It's a 1/4 inch on either side. Same thing with the Cobra coil. Like, I believe what I can do with the right, I should be able to do with the left. So that's why I set up my pedals that way. And that's all based on preference. You know, it might be different from person to person, but that's just how I set up my Tama Speed Cobras. So yeah, there you go. That's how I dial everything in. And be sure to keep these things lubed up as well. That will definitely make a huge difference in how these play. Like any pedal, use white grease. Use WD-40 to clean it off, but don't use that as a primary lubricant because it doesn't stay for very long, and it'll create rust over time, and make your pedals filthy. So yeah, use white grease on all the moving parts and whatnot, and that should get you on the road to success for using the Tama Speed Cobra. All right, thanks you guys for watching. Stay tuned.